Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharamaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Gurube. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharamaya. Namo Sanghaya. Kande la nye gwe nye do gane ra ba sho sa bon de chon ze che ye ya bo gwe ye lo san cha se da je ba ne de je so de ye no go se de be de je zo lo mo je be zo ko je da lo de be so no she cho do de mo ye de yo jo so she je je jo be de do ge so no be ye yo le she so cha be ye la me de be on de te be de lo cha ze ye wo she ye no zo me do do te je do be no ze wo ja ye de je de ya zo de so na xin zhuo jiu lo zhi ba bi kan ji ko mi du ne sa ba ye liu ma ye ye mi ga ji ji ba ke ba la no ba so ye ke jo ye ne ye ba ta be so sha ye me de ma de do la de she ye ba be ta jo de ye che go bo je ye la che Chiang da la san bi liang jie si ma la sa jie xue jie cha wa ba do zo na ma da bi se yang le xian ba ye sun zhou guo la chang luo mian na yang ta mian na yang su guo ra da si de ba zhong mian nu de ba la shu kan zo chi ni san be tian dan zhou wa gui la kan bian da jiao ba la jiao zhen lo zang zhao ba ye tian bi nian bo rian du jiao zhou mian mian zai bi de la jiao jiao riao zi jiao mian jiao bi wan bo zhang bi yang jiao bo ma le zhuan zi san bi yang da kan jian ke so jian zong ga yang ba lo san zhang bi sha la so wa yang de mian mian zi bi de jian ri si jiao mian jian bi wan bo zhang bi jiao bo ma le zhuan zi san bi yang da kan jian ke bi zuo jian zong ga ba lo san zhang bi sha wa
Sanje Cheda Sanje
Shonan La Janju Balo Dani Jabzo Je
Dagi Chuje Jebe Sanje Rala Peje
Sanje Jova Sho
Sanje
Cheda Zoje Shonan La Janju Balo Dani Jabzo Je
Dagi Chuje Jebe Sanje Rala Peje
Sanje Jova
Sho Sanje Cheda
Zoje Shonan La Janju Balo Dani Jabzo Je Nagi Chuje Jebe Sonanje Rola Peje Sanje Jova Sho
Simje Tamji Toyo Lanama Wayanda or Zoba Sanje Komoran Bajini Tobaja T-shirt, temperature saying Bagulun Shan some Mata Chimas and say down the assembly.
Let me remind every one of us here to take a moment and cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it bodhicitta motivation or the altruistic motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of all other sentient beings. And with that kind of motivation, we should all participate in this Lamrim teaching, the teaching on stages of the path, enlightenment by Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa. To give you the blessing of oral transmission, allow me to read about a page or two from this great Lamrim text, volume number 2, in the English translation of Lamrim Chemo, unnumbered page 113. The caption reads, "The Perfection of Generosity."
Rangi Sanje Geshe member Sheba Be Parajinta Shinji member Sheba Dosha Love Tomal George Modo Don Dunde Shera Lolo Tola Shi Jimu Tejiva Juki Top Jimbera de Yata Tondo Shansali Jimbo Consciano Yujitan Jerong La Mede Shaju Simbe Shabotan Shanju Simbe Majaba Teji Simba Kayabati Kune Lamba Jimba Chawi Gobo Yoso de Ludong Agale no Shesumata Don't Simba give us the Kune Lambe Longale so the Jimbi Zoban Vijin Jezi Shena Tami and Ronoje Wapura Mitete Teta Mayena Tadun Rotin Botumaye Marshambe Jana Jimba Taramajaba Juretino Ludong Midzoye Simso Wichabate Roldo Lungju Gewa Gazatam Jela Sinivenzabachum Nation La Samba Tabane Tosh Tezan Duma Se Tang Jibu no Josim Jena La Dari Loyo Komoyon So Zobale Jimbe Party de Jero de Junjule Kete or Kete do Ubor Jimbe Paruji Nata Dun do de Yana Joba Cheta Paruji Doba Tam Jedi de Jugola Dansen Jimbe Pajin Be Paruji so de Dene Simi do Shesa Dena Jimbe Pajin Nemu so was a Shelaton Wame Java Tome Simba go to Mani Jete Shibel to Tomo, you know, you want to live on Jula. Sena Maliba Jomba Tamaji and Ezibe Pajin de Menju Davis, Sena Nido Jajishara Doba Ibe, Tiwi Meji Dajambani Jama Sabunda Jeva, Maliba Pombe Shero. Tia Chiri Tome Ki, Seni Kundin Zambasa and the Mase, Dobatan Jation, Tome, Samani Sabani Jagoso. Tell a young Simi, you make them a Tome Payon Kumgaveti, Java Joe, the water mille. Only River Curie, New Day, the ones of Soja, Soja, your homage, Jumelama, Jumantana, Milum. Jumanta, Allah Shiva, the Rashavana, Shendima, Lese, the Devon, the Somata, make it, Shombe, Sung. Tita Mrs. to see you, Maison, so, Maison, so, 的啥鸡，没里啥鸡吃的这药啊都绿这一个哩。连接听我建议，别让我没到，没把当么都把节目都不做不点呢，得了我差不。ga ko de te ma lo no cha be on de so de ni je je bu no sa ni ro ro ya song ba go ta ye ba de song le ja se je ga kan da wa ka je zo je ba de xi za yong zo je ba de de ba kan lo wa se ba ju ru wa pong se ba pong wa je no song de je re je da la de le we ja de da le de se ge ji re re ro ni Kiri mi da chili ba bi lu ji ji da ji ji mi ji bi xiao ju to ba chu na ni de ni ri mi ni mi no. Xie da jie ra le ya ba da mi ji lo ni bu mi bi lu du ni chim du ni. Du ni mi ti mi da du mi da lu xin la pin lu ju wa la wa ga wa ra mi ju de de ni xie ma ye xie su ba da Deva Tumi Sung Jang Yaparan Toro Kubi Nyingbu Mibi Lui Xin Lawa Samba Sambe Tang Rang Xin Jibe Tung Mangbu Zheba La Tetara Lo Mi Jingwa Niwe Da Lumbu Nyaman Dewe San Lui La So Bawa Xin Tumi Mi Lo Jiki Chau Juju Le Jang Juju le jawa tamje dang yang tamje da me yang de da lo yang de bo zhe tamje do cha bu je le ba sim jian na dang shuo jie zuo ba ji de ba le jiang lu ju na ba me da dong ji de ji wen ji xie wu ong yi ngong ju na xin ba da ge qian xia xin ji ba de xin du de bi su ji do ba ju kang xin de le ji ba jie min ji de qian na kang xia de le ni men ji ba ju mi shuo de mu da de su ge de qian na ni ba de ni min ju xin bie ji de ba ru de wa ru ma xin ni cai di ni lang du ni ji mi no na kan de rang xie da yong su ma dang de da me ba ju ma xin no na me da mi ju de xi ba de da yue wei de re du sim je pen ba xiao wa kang jian bi no na yin bo me ba wa yu ba zhang ju de kang xi yong su dong wa ke bei ngang wa ji bu xie ba de da shi zhe zhe so la ga yong su song wei min de kang yang mi wei ji bi da de bu su zhe ba zhe wa da mi yin mo用手机们就是松绑中班的旁边老那个你们这边考试为先把这个冷气说天来先就是旁边老们送接受的有给早啊先说康熙和有早就康熙他们这的什么了那个吧到他都这偏把偏这家全部偏这家全部比同的上班当班的我因为金巴当那个甚至人了的，比如说弄的你特别做的了就做的，人家这么来这个就说了刚开始天天说就是看个什么现在考虑兄妹去，天天叫那的就说天天讲的得了能甚至开甚至看那菜没了，现在天天这种学说，他的个啥个是的。그다음 다 장애 되지 다 파진 럽중 거지 카돌레 좋아 안디 가르사 돈데리도 어디 또 가서 장애 뒤에 나다 가르도스나 때 누가 키지 가르사 있는다 셔라 또 이주고 고는 디그레스 얘는 현다데 파진가디 고 말이야 그다 로도도 간가 니 그다음 장애 뒤는 거디 고동도 수득나 어디에 가면 가도 그러와 어디 녀시 띵녀시 versus
so Geshe read up to page 117 at the bottom there is a passage quoted from the Precious Garland or Ratna Avali, and now he started to give explanation just to recapitulate what we already talked about or discussed last time. So we discuss about this very contention, which is we don't need more than 6 perfections, and we can't do with less than 6 perfections when we are dealing with bodhisattva activities or actions. Yeah, so that number 6 kind of is a magic number, fixed number. It's a very significant number, right? And a part of the reason why we have to pay attention to the 6 perfections is there is some kind of notion, maybe in some minds of the heads, as if you can just pick and choose 1 or 2 of the perfections you like it, kind of thing, and focus on it, as if all other perfections are not needed. And that has been the case, especially with some people holding the notion that, you know what, you just don't need anything, just emptiness, focus on that one. Emptiness is as if everything, so which means you only select and focus on the perfection of wisdom gone beyond, which is one of the 6 perfections, so you kind of ignore the other 5 perfections, right? And that is a wrong notion, right? So in order to correct that kind of notion, so we have to say that we have to attend to all the 6 perfections of bodhisattvas, from the perfection of generosity to the perfection of wisdom.
사대 수바타 데리 추야 데리 수바텔 지랄라 발니 리발니 쳬바지 로드데 쳬바드 파지 타바이 로드 더블니 데려와다 쳬바지 로드스 파지 당보시 로드시 다 신의 락동 로드데 시다데 신의 신 락동상 시워라디 다 림바드 독스 시워야.
So just to kind of revisit some of the major outlines, so where it reads the caption, the process of learning the perfections. And so that has 2 parts. The part 1 is how to train in the bodhisattva deeds in general, and in particular how to train in the last 2 perfections, the perfection of samadhi or concentration, and the perfection of wisdom, because those 2 perfections are dealt with right at the end. And
동벌니 랑기 상지 몸바시바 당스 파지 당스 현지 예면바시바 도와실라고 다 데레 단다 가르사 제바젤로지 티나다 나우지 쳔나 데레고도 랑동나 랍지다 현동시 랍지 인샤고로 다다 당보데 제 가르사 파지 도랍지 랑동 베소이도 발라비아체 도행고바시 현동시로로 와 보다 돈이 되는 랍지와 티나다 랍지 니나도도.
So when we talk about bodhisattva trainings or deeds in general, we could look at it in 2 ways. One is in terms of fulfilling one's own purpose or the goals, right? For one's own benefits. So basically, we focus on the 6 perfections in terms of fulfilling our own purpose or the goal. And then fulfilling others' goal or the purpose, in relating to that, we talk about what is called the 4 practices of gathering sentient beings and helping them to ripen their mind streams, right? So when we think in terms of our practice, what do I need to do to fulfill my goal? Here are the 6 perfections. What do I need to do for other people? Here are the 4 practices, right? So that's how it is laid out.
어때다 당보랑도 소유조로 저텔라이는 가서 쭉 진발 세점 세바 존지 3대 셰랍 두는 또 당보리 진발로야 돼다 티네야 다 거기 그 파지레라 루드레서도 다 당보 진발 루드텔이야 아니 당보 진발 루드레서는 다 두수면 득사리.
So when we talk about the 6 perfections or the paramitas, Phuntsok took in Tibet, and so we have to talk about what the 6 perfections are, and these are, as you know, the perfection of generosity, the perfection of morality or ethics, the perfection of patience or tolerance, the perfection of enthusiastic perseverance or joy in virtue, and the perfection of concentration and the perfection of wisdom. So we have to talk about each of them, right, specifically, and of course it starts with the perfection of generosity. We are on page 114. And the caption reads, training in the perfections that mature the qualities you will, measure the qualities you will have when you become a Buddha.
다 동부 진발 진배 동부 희 진배 무스 진바스는 다 코너 진바스 간에지 진바스기리 시아들 와라 대개발 지금 탑스데 이 진바드 비게 용조 진배 파지로 조와라 이 탑시도 간에신 용조 시구거래 시아 찍시로 와라 다 되니 진배 라디야스 다 진배 여와들 다 여와시아들 와 저다 통도 와서 다 사지 히드와 진바코는
So we will start off with how to practice or engage in the training of the perfection of generosity or Dan Paramita, Shinbepar in Tibetan. So it is discussed under 4 sub-points. The first one is we want to know what does generosity mean, define it, right? What is its nature, ngowo. The second one is how can we practice or cultivate generosity? What do we need to do? What methods are there to cultivate generosity? That's called kyebetab. And the third one is what are the types of generosity, right? Categories of generosity, yewa in Tibetan. And the fourth one is a summary of all these points.
다 당번의 상사를 이번 무관시는 요지 탐지 당 랑구 류라 메다위 상주선배 마샤바 렌지베스 셈바카인바 당 디군에 랑비 짐바셰 ngobo 용소 또미 류당하게 레다 해송바다 또미 셈바 게와라 디군에 랑비 룽하게 레소 다 짐베 ngo저 가데스 어디레스 다 간지 비게 서 랑구 류룽조 가가 마샤 비게 심지어 또야게 비게 ene simjungxie ma샤 simjungxie di guane ene tangbe da lunga le ge jeba tangya bi tongya le lunga le jero wo ta dige de ene ta jembe ngo de jemba de ti ni se wa.
So at the bottom of page 114, based upon Bodhisattva Bhumi, Bodhisattva levels, generosity is defined here. And according to the explanation given, what does generosity mean? Generosity is a state of mind, if you will, right? Technically speaking, it is a mental factor, secondary mental attitude. The Tibetan term is simjung. Yeah? And what kind of a mental attitude, if you ask, is that it is a state of mind that is non-attached to, right, to all the things that we have, body, and resources, and so it's the wish to give. It's the mind to give everything we have, including body and resources, without any sense of attachment or clinginess, right? So when we have that state of mind, so that state of mind is accompanied by our verbal and physical actions, right? So verbal and physical actions are something we can visible, right? When you say something or do something, I mean, that's right in your face, right? What is not in the face is inside, right? So the generosity is a secondary mental state of mind that is, the mind to give without sense of attachment to body, resource, and so forth. And it is accompanied by the verbal and physical manifestations or the actions.
다 해송바다 lunga 레세 디카레스는 다 간지 그래서 예딩도 가르치거나 lunga 유소는 만들 지어요 말봐. 셔데디 전다 단다 주로디 짐바세야디 주주디 마샤 셈디구는 인티구는 비 도베고 비 고바디 때야 양베 현다베 지과디 도야라 안베 게제셰네야 베 심심조셰네야 민지부 지바지야요와 디다 나가 지바레고 지와 거기 디가 lunga 유소 가지 지리도 상고다.
So when we think in terms of what we call positive karmic actions and negative karmic actions, so all these actions are pretty much inclusive within 3 types of action that each of us can perform. Physical action, verbal action, and mental action, right? We call it 3 doors, right? If you're doing anything good, positive, constructive, or anything bad, destructive, hurtful, basically, it is through these 3 doors, right? So in the case of giving, primarily giving is a state of mind. It's the heart to give. It's the mind to give, right? That's the main thing. But then it can be manifested in verbal and physical actions. In the physical action means like you have some resources, you're going to make a gift, right? So literally like, here, take it, right? I present it to you. That is a physical action that accompanies the mind to give. The verbal action is, when you think in terms of the generosity of giving fearlessness, right? When somebody is like very feel sense of insecurity, right? Kind of scared or freaking out or something, like, then we can give some advice, like, you don't need to freak out, just listen to me, There are ways to deal with this situation. So you kind of boost up their spirit, confidence, right? Boost up their self-esteem, everything through talking, through conversation, through speech, right? And that is also the manifestation of generosity. You are giving a sense of security, confidence to this other person who is feeling so down,
in here was at that got a Kadusina, Jivas on here was at Jirova. She in that time, the Jivaton, the Jivapajins of while she designed in the Sudu Jivatan, in the Simjing, we Oaganga said to it. Go Vesi. Tipati Jivapajis over Maris, and in the Simji was a go Maris. So some little draw Magazine. The Simji was a go Maris.
So in a very generic sense, when we think about generosity or dan, chimba, right? So it is like to alleviate poverty, isn't it? Somebody is lacking, resources, whatever. So if we can provide the resources, it alleviates that poverty of person, right? Now the question arises, if generosity means alleviating poverty, so then the question we can ask is, in order to complete the practice of generosity, does that mean that we have to alleviate all the poverty in the universe, right? Is that what it means? The answer to that question is no. It is more to do with your state of mind, wish to give, that heart to give, and do what you can, but it doesn't mean that until all the poverty in the universe is kind of taken care of, you don't complete your generosity practice, right?
Oh, dear, Chitati Karsa Simjil Mudu, Guzin of Kairo said, Teta Maina, Tadung, Joa, Tembo, Tomaye, Narsen, Giovanna, Jimbatar Majimanjuro, Tena Luda, Nga Mezoi, Simsu Chibate, Deta Rana, Dobe Luda Lunju, Yeta Tandil, Senin Zimbajoni, Shela, Yingtabani, Tonging. Tetan Mase Time driven on Jang, Simjela, Darius, Lokumber, Yong Zobala, and Jibas, what this is. Carisana in a Simjua Seval Dugmati, and Elia, Tadaba, Sanjima was Chonsarva. She was Sanjeti, Tada in Joa Simje Beko with the Tembo Shida Mongoyori. She has David Sanjay to go Shons of Sanjanga, Jivapaji Mazo, Red to those. She has Simjua Sel Dugmatis. That Carisana. 소소가 가래 강에 르르르 가래 땅 팡바자 내가 베게 땅 마세 뒤땅 베게 예자대야 영조대야 심신 홀로 버가니 소리고 샘그 베게 타르지야 인조고래 세고다.
So we are on top of page 115 where the response is provided to that question. Does fulfillment of the perfection of generosity or bringing this practice to the fruition state, does it depend upon alleviating all the poverty in the universe or the world? The answer to that question is no. Then we say, where is the evidence? Show me the evidence. So the answer given on that page is, if fulfillment of generosity is contingent upon, right, solving all the poverty problems in the world, then, what about all the Buddhas, who have already become enlightened beings, right? So they couldn't have become Buddhas because we still have too many poor people, right, in the world, right? So that shows that, completing the generosity practice is not contingent upon, solving all the poverty issues in the world. But what it does depend upon, contingent upon, is that in one's own individual heart and the mind, right, one should have that a complete sense, selfless giving. The mind to give must be cultivated to the optimum level, where we don't have any sense of attachment to share whatever we have with others, right? Not only that, we have no attachment to sharing things with others, but it's a very unconditional giving. We even don't expect anything in return, right? We are not seeking like, okay, if I'm nice to you and give, right, then something should come back to me. We even don't think about the outcome of generosity. If there is an outcome, we even dedicate it for the well-being of others. So that sense of where there is no stinginess, miserliness, clinginess, involved here. It's just pure giving, unconditional mind of giving. So that's what the giving is about. It's not so much to do with solving all the poverty issues in the world.
다 롱제 셴보요 저 딘데가 야 지불을 와신도 하잖아. 어디 매 지불을 왔다니 매봐. 소소 롱제 강가다 디 지불도 지야봐. 심전을 뭐야 돼 있어. 디신의 가려서는 소소 비게 센다 맞지지. 있는 지불저 심전 거서는 이니데 돈이가 용거다. 현거 돈 용와. 소소 되게다. 소소 비게 남이를 와신 지바 땅바 될래 야가 요러와. 제가 디게 돈다 쳔보여 되셔도 토다 쉐보여다 에네베 라운 때문에 강가 유제 강가 벨렌르와다 나미르와 짜니메바 니 헨을 땅고요레스 어디입니다.
So bringing the practice of generosity to the fruition state means that we learn to give unconditionally, isn't it? Not only we have a sense of giving, the heart to give, but what happens is we do learn that giving is a positive practice. It brings positive outcomes, right? In the form of let's say fortunate rebirth in your next life, in the form of more resources in your next life, right? So because we know those outcomes and somehow we're attached to that, right? Yeah, I want those, right? In the future, well then our generosity becomes very limited, isn't it? It gets tainted. Yes, those outcomes may come from generosity practice, but even those are dedicated for sentient beings. We don't think about that, right? Whatever the outcomes are, and even those outcomes are completely dedicated for the others. So that kind of thinking or that kind of a state of mind, indicates what we call completing a generosity practice. So by doing that, unconditional giving, we are really successful in fulfilling both our own purpose and the purpose of the others, isn't it? If we are attached to the outcome, it's kind of limiting even our own fulfillment, because then we get stuck. But if we give unconditionally, then there's no boundary here, right? Sky is the limit, as you say. Well, it's not said in the text, but and so that's why even our giving becomes very profound, very extensive, very meaningful, giving.
어디 다디 공디 가라 준주를 당기 줘서 대다량 준주를 계대 도와 우버와 지메 버르치나 다둥 도진 여는 거 쪄바셔다 버르치 도바탄지 대제티 교권을 당선지 지메 버르신송데 대대되는 생유도 해서 시대다 다기도 로자디现在这我大感觉说是现代性的嘛当然被挪苏州性的现代性的雅典呢 ene rangin 이게 돈 강양 용도고 말이 쓰고다. 다 디가르스는 거 선에 가서 사야 되는 거 실르도 가서 시기가 개야 매우신 거 샤는 로기로. 어제도 디지다. 다 단다 쓰는 라바 위드다 이게 땅 바이나 그 리뷰 용거로 봐. 다 시시바도 가셔. 시디 대샤지시는 그 리뷰 용거 다 도다 매우 잘어 봐. 제가 디소도 아니 디 케냐도 베소서 세나시 냐되는데 용거 좀 가세요. 현단 배 연대 가서 어디 something 당시에 당에는 다다가 당셔는 약보야 그래서.
So in the middle of page 115, we have two stanzas quoted from great Bodhisattva, Mahasattva Shantideva's engaging in the deeds of Bodhisattvas. We call Junju, Bodhisattva Char Avatar. So which is to substantiate what we already talked about. And so the deeds state, I quote, if generosity were perfected by removing beings' poverty, since beings are still destitute, how could past saviors have perfected it? Meaning, how could past Buddhas have done it? Generosity is perfected, it is said, through the attitude of giving away to all beings all your possessions, along with the effects of this. Therefore, generosity is a state of mind, unquote, right? So what this really tells us is perfecting generosity is contingent upon our heart to give unconditionally. It's not contingent upon solving all the poverty issues in the world. And as Geshe explained, that if we harbor miserliness or stinginess, right, with whatever things we have, all the things we have become kind of useless, right? We dare not to eat properly, dare not to use it for ourselves. Of course, we are not going to give to others, right? We even couldn't use for ourselves. So, I mean, whatever we have, it becomes kind of a useless thing. And then at the end of the life, whether we like or not, we have to give it, isn't it? Nobody can take after when you die. I mean, who takes anything when you die? So at the end, the game is that whether we choose to or not, when we die, it has to be left behind. Somebody will have it, you give it or not, it's just there. So thinking about that, we should think about the plus and minus about generosity practice. What are the problems if we hoard things and be too stingy? But what are the benefits if we become a little bit open-hearted and giving, isn't it? And so through that way, if we open our heart, we derive more benefits and make our resources meaningful, whatever we have, isn't it? But if we kind of, preserve it too much, even we dare not to use for ourselves, then it becomes completely useless resources.
그래서 대대 집에 빠지냐래 능고서 제해나 동안 매장 동에 선바 고태만에 이제 집에 동안 인도서 다 그래서 집에 빠지게 가서 냠스 렌즈로 됐다 근데 다다답시는 간절 베게 동야 가면은 뭐바시는 간지 배 류은지 간가 배 동야 뭐바시는 어찌 동아이나 어디야 검네 이 간선대 배 군에 장서 동 때지 야야야도 이 간선들이 류룽주 간가 동터라고 봐 이게 로잔 마장하세 ene de jana lamsa sozo pe penjo shembo reena en lamsa ko jima to ta yo ba ko lo jing ma wa tele tang bu kai me na ko tong ye se ba jang jang na ene cha de ya shi ni gan lamsa pe le ka to chi sho sha go ro ko te se ngon zu lao ling da ka se ji kai ye min de tong de pe la ba ye ba ni yong ba te de shi jang go de min de da
So training in the practice of generosity, how to give, really doesn't require actually owning anything, right? We may not own anything. Let's assume, hypothetically speaking, we are poor like a dirt, we have nothing. But we can still train our mind to give, right? Because we can imagine all the things in the universe and we can learn to give this, dedicate this to others' well-being. I mean, who says you can't think about those things, right? This is how we open up our heart or the mind, right? Train our mind. As we succeed in that, but then we also started to get resources. Now we have no problem, right, sharing them. If we don't train our mind, we could be millionaires and billionaires, but we will be poor. We cannot share with others because we don't have the heart to give, right? What if, something, all this comes up in the mind. So what is important, regardless of what we have or we don't have, we can train our mind through imaginative power to dedicate all the resources in the universe for the well-being of others. And that's a very important thing to remember, right? We can practice it even without owning anything. And as Geshe was kind of giggling over this thing, how sometimes when the lamas teach about our teachers, the lamrim, they said, just to train. Sometimes, you can just hold something in your right hand and then you're giving it to the left hand, okay? Left hand receives it, give it back, Even simple act of that, transferring something from the right hand to the left hand, right? This process will help us to think about giving, receiving, that kind of thing, right? So as we train our mind to give, right, the heart to give, I mean, at the moment it seems like it's such a useless thinking, isn't it? I really don't have, literally I don't have anything. I'm not giving anything, right? So am I just kind of goofing around or what is this meaningless thing I'm doing? It seems like that. But no, as our mind get trained by the power of familiarity with the how to give, later when we started to accumulate and own something, now we have no problem dedicating and giving because we are ready, isn't it? So that's why training of the mind is very important, although at the moment it seems like, well, this is not making any difference to anybody here, right? But it is, right? This is where it all starts.
我这里觉得这个谈到的养马上为呢，因为就在这个开始，一般也不动都用啊，没变成个是对了哇，所以说这个他合适，罗不中这也不是开发这新人的呢，他不刚刚的兄弟干了也是老个么的，刚刚嘛那些，你开发新人是要说是超过是吧？我马上能用都要用嘛是吧？我这里感觉到。
I mean, in one sense, kind of common sense, right? For us able to do anything, we really need to start it from the very basics learning, right? If you want to be expert in any field of knowledge, well, you better start from the basic knowledge, right? If you're learning a language, it starts with the alphabet or the consonants, kaka, ganga, A, B, C, D, right? Whatever it is. You can't say like, well, that's too simple for me. I want to go up there. Like, no, because you don't have anything to go start from there. So in the same way, for us as practitioners, it really starts with imagining, right? Training our mind, thinking that we are giving something to others and we're letting it go, right? And that's very important.
我这在日本的是，他这可是山南嘛什么，因为东山国的是，他日本的旅游龙就是了，山南嘛那个什么咱们今年，这边爬进的名有的山南的就些吃到把银币。 听明一点这么你这什么这么帮别些罗噻，其实他现在常州这边金边切完这个人的，金巴当山南没有几个偏头嘛的是，山南没有金巴你能这种样，这种嘛你们帮不下是吧？山南山的你们人，你能是帮啥的？现在长生的金巴人头嘛是吧？是是吧？是但提个南边看这个是呢，山南没有嘛是，人家别个东啊了搞不，人家当然这不的结果别个当到别个金鱼什么的把我头呢。 그 다가 소설했다니까 레와도 짠네와 시험 마시고 그 심심 마시고 돈 온거도 어디를 심도 주고 그랬어요.
또 이제 전주 쌤을 남디고 봐. 전주 쌤을 구고 있는
거. 어다 전주 쌤 다고. 그런데 이게 치아다 전주 쌤이 지만 저보시요. 다사디요.
So the second sub point is how to begin the development of generosity, how to practice generosity. On page 115 towards the bottom. Now again, when we think in terms of practicing generosity and bringing it to the fruition, we might also think that if I am able to overcome my sense of stinginess, right, miserliness, would that be the case that now I have perfected the sense of generosity here, right? And the answer given here is, of course, that's from Bodhisattva's point of view. From Bodhisattva's perspective point of view, simply overcoming or getting rid of stinginess does not mean that you have perfected the generosity. Okay? And because when we look at the arahats, those who have achieved a state of liberation from samsara, okay? And so they have overcome completely, gotten rid of the stinginess, isn't it? Because stinginess is a part of a delusion, affected emotion. They are completely free from emotions. And but they haven't, in some sense, perfected the generosity in a bodhisattva's way, if you will. So what is needed here is, as again we said, that unconditional sense to give. Bodhisattvas, when they give, they don't expect anything in return. If something is going to come in return, even that is dedicated, right, altogether for the well-being of sentient beings. So that means implicitly, the bodhisattva's perfection of generosity is related with bodhicitta, or the mind of enlightenment. It is. No.
我这他你让这就是说，今天个把几百多年得了，个山南面那今天高啊，这不得用头面不是吧？我们说我们开始啥，其他亲戚来投资嘞，来些开始啥，他们其他亲戚来投资嘞，这他们这当看身体状况看这。 小是没不是别个，第二是农业给他把个没得电话的，你让西的电话来，那得抢呀，这是吧？是吧？我他们就当大是没这个事，我那一看见他几把刀了，周休的，你让做了周休没是吧？是那得要嘛是吧？我就是说。
So Bodhisattva's generosity of giving is characterized by this tremendous sense of joy, delight in giving, and it's completely unconditional giving. So it is, in that sense, incomparable to the giving of what we call Shravakas or even the Arhats, right? Yes, they have overcome the stinginess part. Yeah, they have some amount of joy in giving, but they don't have the intensity of the kind of a joy that Bodhisattvas experience. As Geshe quoted from his memory, I think that comes from Chandrakirti's works, supplement to the Middle Way, where it said that when Bodhisattvas hear just the word, somebody like, give me something, that word is a magic word for them. It just kind of, brings them so much delight and joy in their heart. The kind of joy and happiness that they experience is much greater than the joy of nirvana for the arhats. So that's what the sense of joy Bodhisattvas have, this tremendous sense of joy, to give and unconditional giving. So that characterizes their perfection of giving.
That didn't want to keep us in Karsa. Because Jimatoya don't go with using it. Jimatoya, they don't tell you, you can't go to that you'll till the utilization can't. Jimatoya Payonda and the mother and Yimi in the she was a what? No, did it. The dark Karsa, also Yimik down with Payon Karsa. Ning Tabani, this is it. That got it. Send them maybe you do my race in Ning Tabani in the Toagu race. That they toa the Gia Canadians and that tell you so in Yimik down. Don't a pay on Gongo, teach you what show, said that the Negia, draw you Shimo Jaya, the Negata, Tam to Cargorasena, in the Jibatan pay on that, mother and Yimi in the Samni, and ya local Geshe race was. To go to Garzana. Dardomeles, river you lean there down, so your own major, Meno Jumandawala, Shibada Chavena, Hindu Maroon Liesi, the bay on the song, make Chita Shombe song. Teta Miss Simiendo, this or that penna. Pig Lunja down, Lulun the Chan, Senash in the Jimbata and the Madame in the Sigurd, Madame in the Lu Rubat, Lu Rubas in the Ruser got the Rudis. Payment of Riyadh Sigazara. Or that must be read of taking so I did you are in the Tagdate of Kaka Yamaris. Cocarizan Dorarava. She had the Milu Jimata was the Milu Jimata or Tida Madi Shivana Telia Chani. Tiga needs a home was she. Chan in the Shin Maroon Liashi, the Shadow so the Lulu Chan, the Senashi, in the Hill Jimamata, she did not do in the Dibam Chembosani. And the bear on the song, the bear on the song, the debate on the song, and the end of Gigra, or Timra. On the song, the Miki Chita should be a song, Simbra. Cheta, that Miki was another, and it Yedilang the Shimoto, because Senajin is what this Cheta, Chita, any kind of Shomba was in the on the Juris. Teta may say, Niawando, Teta may say, Simiendo. Here, Lumezon, so there is a research budget, you are that Yimir did it. Lumezon, the Lumezon, the Mezon, the song you said, see, I am so do name. But this so any Karsa, you were the research budget. Say, result should not equal so that you just got David Capgeo, Shabetan, you would not his higher. I said that what Lamsakon Doria, no to go to Teleco, for a leg of Mando, when so the picture of Tanghana, Dibuyongora. That don't send us yet much of the Kashana. It got so done, door to go to Ducia Yomara. What direct pay on something? Luda sort of some of time in the Luda sort on a large hunger is it. And the don't talk more.
So we are on page 115, where the caption reads, "How to begin the development of generosity." What can really make us interested to cultivate generosity? And so primarily two things. If we contemplate the benefits of giving, generosity, and we think about the demerits or the disadvantages of not giving, or just kind of being stingy about things, then that will help us to be able to figure out and inspire ourselves to cultivate generosity. And so there are many ways to think about that. And at the bottom of page 115 and over to page 116, we have passages quoted from the Moon Lem Sutra, Chandra Pradipa Sutra. An explanation given on this is that we childish sentient beings, we are really in some sense very childish. We are too much attached to our body, resource, and everything. And we really don't think about their kind of true nature, if you will. If we look at our body, it is useful, that's true. But there will be a day this body is going to rot, isn't it? It's going to become nothing. It's going to smell. It's going to, do that. But yet we are too much attached to it, too much importance to this body, as if. So therefore, maybe we are too stuck, not being able to dedicate or give our body to others. Of course, this doesn't mean we are ready to give, right? But part of giving is, even if need be, giving the bodies. But we are too attached to our body. We are too attached to our life, if you will. But our life is very impermanent, transient, isn't it? We are already born. Since the birth, the day of we were born, and until now, our life has been changing and, all the time until the end, which is called death. But we don't know when that's going to happen, isn't it? It's determined by karma largely. Whenever the karma said, your expiration date is here, goodbye, that. So until it looks like we're waiting for that expiration date, and we cling to the things. We don't use the life meaningfully. We don't, cultivate generosity. That's what we childish sentient beings are doing. And as a matter of fact, being attached to our body and life and so forth, we are creating a lot of negative karmas, isn't it? Yeah? And these karmas will precipitate our rebirth in bad migrations in our next life. So the way we are functioning is as if we are not in charge of our life. We left a lot of death to rule over us. Like, hey, you be my master. Decide whenever you decide to take me out of this world, Kind of like silly thing. That's what we seems to be doing as childish sentient beings. So that means we have to realistically look at our body, right? That if we really look the constituents of our body, there's not much to get attached to it, honestly. In the textbook, Buddhists, they talk about as many as 36 impurities or yuckis in some sense, right? That constitute the body. Well, nothing in that can really make us get interested to get attached to. Yeah? So think about that will help us to detach a little bit from clinginess to the body. This life, yes, is precious, but one day it's going to end. I don't know whether we are going to be lucky to live as long as the karma has determined. So many things can change, and we can snap our life anytime, like before even we are ready, like, oops, it is here. So before all those things happen, think carefully and make some decisions for ourselves that we can use our life and body meaningfully, right? At least we can train our mind imaginatively to dedicate our body and life for others. Of course, we are not ready now, and we shouldn't probably be doing that. He didn't say that, my footnote, right? When you are not ready, don't do crazy things. But we can train our mind to dedicate our life and body for the well-being of others. So the thing about us childish sentient beings is we really don't think about the illusory nature of life and body, isn't it? Our life and body is just like in some ways, the things we experience in a dream state. It's kind of there, but it's really not there. It's very illusory in nature, So if we think about how things are like we experience in a dream, or things are like a magician's creations, then that will help us to deal with attachment to life and body and cultivate generosity.
我这是到底可是啊，这个的，女龙就了呀，吃不宁不，我们这些的，你女的吃么这是我没长，女的可是咋些不些，一咋些我都看这个都会谈到些呢，那个地方不俺平时都是啥样的吧？那菜都没打把什么么个一张，别什么有什么，当时这个家这样个吃一点些呢，一直都会谈到些，吃一个地个些，地方啥样，俺地个啥个是吧？现在但女的咋些不得这某些的没有些。 any sort of big reserve of the equal because some of the young Korean and the terrace got Musician Marva. Musician and the called Shaba Marva.
No,
What is your that Jimata will see the Medin Perva?
no. No. So what is stated here, based upon Chanda Pratipa Sutra, the Moon Lamp Sutra, is that we have to realistically assess our body and lives, right? Their state of being. Okay? We are not saying our body is completely useless or it's not important. Yes, it is. But we might have exaggerated the importance of the body, and that's why we get too much attached to our body, because we seem to do everything for the body, And in the process of that, we end up creating negativities, hurting others, and we have to pay for those negative karmas, And also, we really don't think about the impermanence of life, Looks like we are going to be here forever. The grasping at the permanence of life started to misfit all this information in our mind ahead, like, you're going to be here for a while. Just keep working hard, buy that house. I don't know, he didn't say it, but, make some more money and, just do this and do that, get that one. And so we are so busy doing everything as if our permanent address is here, right? But then the life snaps at the end, So if we consider the other side of the body and life, yes, this body is meaningful, it's precious, but from another side of the story, this body has 36 impurities, yucky stuffs that constituted it, okay? Nothing good to get attached to it, if you think about it, So it has repulsive nature, This life is very precious. Of course, we have to, cherish it and use it meaningfully, but this life will come to an end one day, This is not a permanent life, So don't create too many bad karmas, just for this life, because we have to pay for that. So this life's impermanence is just like the waterfall. The water that comes from the top, it's not staying anywhere, right? It just falls down and then it keeps running. So our life has been in flux, isn't it? Never there been a moment where the life stays still. It just keeps on going. So it already started where it's going to the end, So think about that.
Oh dear, Gotaye only young. Simji Kanda Kaji Zero, T, he the Yons Zibati, Tide Kanga Silbon, Siba Jo Bon, Siba Bon Sino, Sonzo, your state Kaji, Simji Kanda Kaji Zoya, Hido Katikar Sena, in Lulu Pigaya, Yonzis and Yons Zebastan, Shakish was Yasigova, but Shakish was the then Zingo, yes. Tide Kanga Siba, the Tide Kanga Siba Jo Bon, she said, the Jenna. And this till then any big less I think in Rogis. That did negotiation when we take a color Seba to a ponce. And Luda Lungil big chuck him, she Nimbo Meva, the boy as big to take a summer town be enough, Siro. Seba Bon, she and the songs, your songs did that demand or that on the songs the country can't give sure that Joris. She had a lovely legend. Jeta dag lued sem keji re doa ni gete meta timba be luye taji time je changju toba chunan teni rimi ni menam shedans dere kanje labdi le da lued sem any keji re doa be meta ba she lu meta tide res gete meta ba she timba ba ti lued hel tan de so saya lulu tan en be so saya jul de chin so na en de be kale do ja mo ko be ni ba do ya ko ji ma re so ta ko lu de pe to ma ba ta pe mo to pe to ba se na en ya bo re ro ta ko de so ta
We have on page 116, we have two passages quoted from two different sources. The first source is called Formula that Accomplishes Limitless Methods. And so what is explained there is lots of the disputes or the conflicts and the fights that we have among ourselves are very much related to our attachment to body and resources, isn't it? Because of that, and what we do to care for the body and resources out of attachment, we end up in conflicts with others and fighting with others, and others same thing, so we're doing that. On the other hand, if we learn to let go the attachment, which is the renunciation part, right? Attachment to a body and a life, understanding their true nature, because they are not here permanently, okay? And but we could use them meaningfully. As long as our body and life exists here, we could use them meaningfully. Otherwise, they are useless. At the end, anyway, they come to an end, right? If we can make something that is kind of a relatively useless into something useful, right? And that is a tremendous, how should I say, opportunity for us. And so we should acknowledge that. So by making meaningful use of our body and life, so we could be creating causes to achieve enlightenment, right? That's the most meaningful thing we can do. Okay.
Karsa pendo puk pendo ya mebal ya ningbo jingi oti luidi ningbo me luidi dungi timi tao di mezan timi sa de mero peme do shagu yirwa so dungi chite ya ma do ji de pendo ya yo ma mezan luidi res so da luidi de de mezan lu peme do de le puk hen le pa pendo she de jimba tani en ti dibu dibu bia ko chuya shona en ti de sang ma da ne ti de sang do ma da ne Right. Lui Hela Pendo Chovala, government ten came in Sirova, said Tadasu Danshana, and Dibu Pendo Yorova, so because some year go so Zorova. Madonna, in the citizen that because so Yovanesi, Toriachi, Pendo Ham or Todorova. What's the Lucra needs to know the Yabo Commission of the Dam of Dujari, she not pay me though because the Jing Lam sort of chatty at the comparable Josona, and it did not I came of Maris as he said.
Then we also have a passage, of course, passages quoted from the Compendium of Trainings and the Garland of Birth Stories of Jataka Mala. So the one with the Jataka Mala tells us that if we really analyze our body, it is devoid of self or atma, if you will, and it is transitory, it's perishing, it's not going to be last forever, and it has really no essence without substance, and if we don't make meaningful use of it, as a matter of fact, this body also brings us a lot of pain and suffering, isn't it? It attracts a lot of pain and suffering. On the other hand, if we can use this kind of a transitory, selfless body into benefiting others, this is how we are creating the punya or merit, right, to be able to achieve enlightened state. And so it's better to make good use of it while we have it, rather than at the end anyway it will, it will perish, right? And so this is like, in some other contexts, we talk about changing adverse factors into conducive factors, isn't it? This is like, this body is in some sense essenceless, substanceless, perishing body. But if we can meaningfully use it, then it is like changing the adverse condition into favorable condition, right? And that's what we should learn to do.
Man shedan gera leja dami jibil luji o shesung bata beba tumes dire ane luidi karen beba khate shin pige luin dorya me tabji ran sia mo ko kharsa tabji dorya ra
No.
so tabji dorya mo ko sia me ta shigwa ma jo sia yo mara o tise bata en dor go go rese tu no du du da dele pan ro so ma to chu yong go ji yo mara yo mara ta da so tang yin pan ro so me to 용거 성에서 열 누구라 제가 디데 누구라 제가 디데 케냐 마제베 에네 나베 히다 고과로레 샤산 디데 로양나 장거레서 와다.
So at the bottom of page 116, so basically it's teaching us to have sort of internal dialogue, we call it intra-personal communication within yourself, right? And so basically we kind of have a conversation with our own body, like, well, you know what, now I kind of thought about you and I kind of understand you, that although I have invested so much time and energy to take care of you, but at the end of the day, I cannot protect and save you because one day you are going to collapse, I mean, that seems to be your nature, right? There's nothing I can do about it, So now I get it, right? Okay, I need to take care of you. While I'm taking care of you, I'm also going to use you, right, in some positive and meaningful way, so that at the end, when I lose you, I have no regret, right? Because I have driven some meaning out of you. Otherwise, you are going to collapse at the end. And so now I get it. So we kind of have this internal dialogue so that we train our mind, right, to use our body to benefit others. At least we can imagine, right, thinking about dedicating our body and life for the benefit of others, right? At the moment, we are not ready, but that's how the mind training works. And then we stop there today, and we welcome your questions and observations. The traveling mic is over there. And let me get the page number down.
Questions.
Yeah.
We also make offerings to the Buddhas, and the Buddhas don't experience any poverty. So what's going on there?
So we make offerings.
We make offerings to the, like as part of the practice of generosity, we make offerings to the Buddhas.
Right.
But we're just saying that the generosity has to do with alleviating poverty. But the Buddhists don't experience any poverty.
Right.
So what's going on there? How come we're doing that?
Oh, okay, sure. Morang kan di shue ka chi shue sa ge. Chik di de de wa ta ta nga zo nam yu. Ka so chimba tang wa nang lo la ka se de ge ma nge song le chimba da ya gong jo le chö ba bu de chimba de ji lo wa. Na chimba se gen di ge si ane pe ge yu be tung a se ku gu yu be yin na din de ji bi yu na ro wa ge. Sang jie le ya nga zo chimba tang de sang jie le ge yu ba yo ma ro wa so wa ge. Ya chö ba ji pu gu de chimba tang kwa de ka ri cha de yo le sa ro wa ge.
Dede sanje le pya dede tero ga da sonu sa ya ton da jiro ga telen so ya kin te ba jima le sanje gudi ten ya ton da le da cheba pu wa ba pe sanje te sanje da sho song me na ga ze de lang do ji am jo long ya de me ra wa wa dede ga sanje gi gudi ten ya ton da la dede ji
자 만에 대해서 좀 어떻게 진바이나 인지 민지 비게 가르쳐 거다 위버세 절 자국에서 구글에서 맨 산절 위버게 요 말한 건데 진바던 거 라스 거다
dede 제가 제가 집에서 다 락바 집에서 되지 제일 팬도가 되지 그것도 용자 센터에 세워라 이게 당길 시 뭐셔도 집에서 이제 뭔지 오바세야래 주어 사고 말이스 티샤는 다기 가서 단다 신조가 마모도스 제가 상예도 집에 마서 다 그래서 도와 디스카드 쇼르모도 지도시는 그 집에 다 현의 팬도 집에 당시 일단 용자 집에 당시 일단 제일 팬도가 아주 계속 야 상예 집에 당시 안 되지 시원하다
So what Geshe says is, as we talked about here, in its kind of ordinary sense, people think the giving is meant to alleviate some poverty, isn't it? And there is some truth to that. But as we discussed that, perfecting generosity is not contingent upon addressing all the poverty issues, right? So from that perspective, like, when we make offerings to the Buddhas, actually our motivation is different. Offering to Buddhas, which is called generosity, is really it's just like our appreciating what Buddha has done for us, and it's just like thank you kind of a gift, more like that sense. So through that kind of a offering, we are accumulating the merit, right, that we require for our spiritual development. It has nothing to do with alleviating any poverty. You're right, Buddha has no poverty, right?
Follow-up question. Geshe Tosun Gyeltsen has talked about how to develop conventional bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta, and he's making offerings to the Buddhas, creates becomes the cause, and the result of that will be ultimate bodhicitta. And making offerings to the Sangha, the living Sangha, would I think we still have the CD back there, creates the causes to get conventional bodhicitta. So I'm wondering, what is it about the particular giving to the Sangha that gives the rise to conventional bodhicitta versus giving to the Buddhas, which gives rise to ultimate bodhicitta? What is it about that particular act that has it give this one versus that one gives that one?
So you recall that Geshe said something like that, right? Yeah, we have. Okay. Okay. So I'll report that, what I heard from you, right? So see. 몰라 근데 쉬어지 디슈고도와 다단다 침바도 제 로바게 내가 가서 겐 담배기 베제 니데 송송스도 로바게 당원에 송송에서 라인바 송서 단다 간저 안에 디르바다 공조선을 침바다 답이 쳐봐 필수고 로바게 산제 공조리아 침바다마 되게 데브디기 안에 가서 간저 이나 된담 심제 로바게 제리아 직편 토그레스 로바게 긴디 공조리아 침바다마 되게 안에 공조 심제라 로바 데르 손에 되는 여러게 디 컨데스 임바이나서 데르 임바이나 산제리아 다 쳐봐 필요되기 된담 심제리아 제 초체다 로바게 긴디리아 쳐봐 필요되기 안에 공조 심제 로바게 근데 손에 줘봐 송소리지
진짜 소리가 베스트디 미세 해야매 다들 요 소리로 예 맞는 매일 자고 하러
나래 이나긴 공부시는 디디 저거 주셔버게
라
다디 공부시에나 베나 산제를 쳐봐 필요되기 된담 심제리아 초체다 긴디를 쳐봐 디데기 대시 접수 요로 요마다 긴 공부시면 당해
다 페이지 다 되게 자요 이제 다 지금 송동세야 되게 잡던 다 먼저 열어 어디 요 인도 말대한 되게 해야매
So Geshe said, he himself doesn't know about that, right? The connection between making offering to Buddha and that facilitates ultimate bodhicitta development and making offering to the Sangha, the conventional bodhicitta. But he said, because I don't know that, it doesn't mean it's not there. It is very possible, but I don't know how to, respond to that because I have,
On, right? Yeah.
Right, it's on, yeah.
Okay. This whole thing on giving up the body,
Yeah.
That's quite a challenge. I
Right.
think it sounds like because ultimately it goes back to it's almost like you're going to give up your own pleasures
Right,
or everything that
right.
you find pleasurable
True, right?
with the body, or So that's quite a challenge.
Right. How is that possible, sort of, right?
Yeah, I mean, and then you're saying eventually we kind of have to go back. Well, it sounds like we have to retrain the mind where it's like where we. I don't know.
I think I understood what probably you're getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask a question, right?
Yeah.
To that. Kurang samtang di dewa ta tagin anzo chimbian nang liya ta tang anzo samlo lo chengbe ke jero wa ke de so lu tang se jero wa de da halle ge ta ka nge chimbo re sha so wa ke kurang di ten du go ale tang tu ge re ma le se jero wa ke ala ba de tang anzo so music is so what do kare ne di lu de de ro wa ke so ti ji de lu de de lu tang son so ti ji da kang da cha sa me cha ro wa ke de pe ma se ge ta di ka nge chimbo re sha ta di kan de ji si na so ro wa ke 다디 게 지코바 김제다 직송하죠.
근데 다다 가서 내가 류동 초고 말아. 동 가야라 와. 신나 동성도 빼게 영으로서 동성도 뭐잖아. 인직다 배단 동 뭐도 차거려서 와. 이게도 그래서 인지 삼바다와다 에네 그래서 가지 또 인지 진보해야 돼. 파들이야. 동이도 에네小学生 대학에 시부 총시험 뭐래 봐도 류동서 말아. 동서
동이 또 로바게.
동서 말아. 제 동서 다 되게 더 계속 듣던 되게 산점을 내서는데 그 땅나 강에서 요 말아. 이제 단단히 그걸 시가 뭐 다른 가서 정어리 뭐죠. 먼저 다 동삼나라 동서 말 사실 공부를 지나 세번부터 동아요 말아.
So Geshe, acknowledge the tremendous challenge, right, in giving body to, for the benefit of others. But actually, what's stated in the standard Buddhist text is where we are right now, we are not even allowed to do that, right, because we are not ready at all, right? What we're saying is we can train our mind in this process. And when we are ready, whenever that is, because there's a standard, right? Where bodhisattvas are able to do that is when they have realized the nature of emptiness and their bodhicitta has actually reached certain higher development, the intensity has picked up. And then, when they realize that by giving their body, it is truly benefiting the others and they have no problem doing that, right? So it's at that stage. So in our case, we are saying that let's train our mind, and even if, but we are not literally allowed to do that, according to standard Buddhist text. It is a tremendous challenge, And that is only allowed under, when we even reach that stage, under certain circumstances. We have to look at so many factors. It's not like simply somebody asks for the body and you give it. So there are many things to be considered. So we are here saying it's simply training our mind. Not really to give our body to others. Yeah.
But is it possible? But is it possible then to just? I mean, I'm not. I'm not even thinking about going at the bodhisattva level, but I'm just more like again, just again, training my mind to, just not being very attached to the body or the senses, I guess. But I mean, so I guess is it possible to enjoy things without getting strongly attached? Because it sounds like that's where, at least at the minimum at this point, that's what we should aim.
Oh, I see. How to sort of reduce the attachment to the body and
right. Because otherwise, otherwise, what are you talking about in terms of giving up the body, especially at this level of,
Well, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Quran this what the Quran is that some time the anje the Lord show me ro again. Ala kwa dong aran zo ta dewa dong da sidi mi de sangma lo subu de den de yo again. Sidi kan da da zo de da ha gu de sabana lü le cha be 착신 de 첨부 들어 와게. 야고면 디 때마 착신 충으로 다 데 내 섬으로 다 들어 와. 그때 통도 좀 마다 lü 원에 다 갱송도 좀 다 때 요 말 와게. 이 나다 가고 싶으러 와게. 제대 소소 대화 대 강가 배 매버 차롱으로 와게. 됐어도. 제대 가지 데 디젠 디스하면서 가다 배나게다 주님네 제간도 원에도 되게 요마데 삼년에 때비지 착신도 충 두고로 말로
되리 근데 류미장 류게 현다 땅의 평을 예보다 류코랑 오데데 배 기타 매버 종도시 기타 자시우시 이제 뭔고 사는 류를 사게 종도로 와 그러면 단단히 둬야 돼요 말로
So I think this is kind of from practice point of view. If we are too attached to our body, right, and then we have to really find a way to reduce that attachment. And so that's why thinking about giving this body for the needy is a part of letting go of that attachment. Of course, we are not required to, and actually we are forbidden to give body at the stage where we are. And so I think maybe for us what is more relevant is like find a way to minimize our attachment to the body so that we can sustain the body, and do all the things we need to do, enjoyment, whatever other things, but not get too much attached to the body. Jim. Yeah.
Hi. I still don't understand why loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta are not thought of as a perfection or the perfections, because cultivating wisdom of emptiness is a perfection, but cultivating bodhicitta is not a perfection.
Oh, I
cultivating patience is a perfection, but cultivating compassion is not a perfection.
Cultivating what's not perfection?
Compassion is not thought of as a
yes,
perfection.
Sure. Okay.
Like earlier in the text, it says that I think it said the Mahayana is encompassed within the six perfections, and yet. From what I see is if you only practice the six perfections without knowledge of the practices for developing bodhicitta, how would you develop bodhicitta? Because there isn't any loving kindness, compassion, or bodhicitta in the six perfections, right?
Sure. Quran can show the dire again. That and then anzo parjin to the devil again. The parjin to the Hagwad to Tawa Chamber Luna Tebe, another parjin to the Chanju Semki, Chanju Semeki, Choba, the Yamlekan Didio Larua. Chidi Dinalia, Pena, Takasore, Tony Gitsurabadi, Sheragu Parjin Jusas Rogan. In it, that Chanju is same than Yingzi Chambusacha. They get the mad mirror was ready, they get the Parjin Tangazim to Slovakia. So the Dikarim by Nesrova, Sidukan Pena, Chanju Sembe, Tatawa Sembugi, and Parjin to Yamle Chab and Chanju and the Yingzi Chabu, Parjin Yamle Yomaraga. A Parjin was in Yamle Chab, they get Chanju some kind of scheme for Slovakia. So that Karishabanes or the Consumativity.
And that Chanju said the English was seeming to see
Parjin Nalmazibat, Parjin to Yomarwa. In a Tony didn't you share a Parjin of Tusha Slovakia.
알레 되시고 제세다 다다 되서와 저주선의 인지심을 데이터 그래서 당보다고 맛이도 히도도 시작해라
알아놓서
다 그거 강바도 되시
넣어서
근데 강바 장에 이제 다디 히도 등게도 저주선의 인지심을 된 거로 다 강바도 야야 yap제는 거 말해 어디 yap제도 다 파진도디 인디시던데 강바도 누구래세 로
알아놓서
어다 디서를 셔데 in the Children because Samdo Nahin, Duya, that Pajin to the goddess. Mother Duya, the Children that the Pemata, he hit the Dugo or Wadoya.
No, so.
So the Children, the Ninja in the Lely over.
The Kazada wonders lamne digmaro, Takazorako. Purching true Yamane check, Tawasam, wonder Chagan or check or Chagomar.
Sergeant, there's a wonder of the Chagomari. Shows them the Ninja Queen in the party.
Alculong of Sacha.
Shows them the Ninja the Kulungs or show. Tip Bijay and the party to Lagmara.
No, so. So Geshe said, the order in which we train our mind is there's the assumption that we learn about the bodhicitta, compassion, all that. So we cultivate that. And then once we have them, what do we do, right? So what do we do? Bodhisattvas do is the perfections, 6 perfections, right? So 6 perfections follow, in some sense, the development of bodhicitta and great compassion. But the reason why they're not counted as perfections is partly because we think of bodhicitta and compassion as more like motivational factors, isn't it? In order to engage in any of those perfections, so we need the bodhicitta and great compassion as a motivating that drives you, right, to engage in those deeds.
And so I can see that the 6 perfections are the practices of a bodhisattva. But then I still understand the argument that all the Mahayana can be contained within the 6 perfections.
Okay, right, yeah.
How is that possible if actually bodhicitta is not there?
Okay. So when this go tagi takwa sembe gi ta nyamle yong so badi phajin thu na du bers la ro ge phajin thu di chanju sembe gi ta zeba da ma so yin ba ha ku du sa and takwa sembe da che kwa yong zo de ane ka sa di dan da chanju ka sa di phajin thu na chu bers se di ane khande chu ge sa ben di na lia chanju sem da ni so badi ke she gi mi do khande chu go re so ge da
the Hendo Tinda Minde, Hendo Ninja Shansu come in Rugo, that got you Lulu to Atigare, Ninja da Shansu di Mena, or did Tanda Tige Ganga Shumuto Moro. Just a did Tanda hit it, Shansu said, Singy things of you use a hit of the Rada.
I don't know.
But the hitting can paint over Marico, Lagentic dog, to real Pajito Yara. Pajito the cat Shansu and because somewhat Rubjig, Tatabi of the
I don't know.
What was someone with Shansu?
No, so.
Or could we into Yaga, Tabi of the careers and any Pajito gun, could we do to or Simpton, Joe loved to say, Tirada.
The bodhicitta and great compassion, they actually constitute the heart of the essence, isn't it? They're the heart. So once you cultivate them, the whole the thing is that we said why do we seek enlightenment? In order to benefit others, isn't it? And so what is involved in benefiting others most effectively is cultivating bodhicitta and great compassion. So that constitutes the heart of the matter. So once you have them, then the question arises, okay, so what bodhicitta wants? Bodhicitta wants to help sentient beings to be free from all sufferings, right? So what do you do? So in terms of your actions or practice, then what is explained are the 6 perfections. So bodhicitta, without bodhicitta and what called compassion as the heart essence, then the 6 perfections really don't make any sense. In some other metaphors we usually use is like these 2 are like the foundations for building structure, right? So you set the bodhicitta and the compassion as a foundation for a house. Now you have to construct the house. The other materials are the 6 perfections, to build the house. Yeah. Any other? Yeah.
I have a question about this: the sense of joy and delight that bodhisattvas experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, first of all, just to follow up to Jim's question, the question was why the bodhicitta is not included in the practice of the bodhisattvas. But actually, bodhisattvas have bodhicitta, so actually it is included in the 6 perfections. So it's automatically included because it's in order for somebody to be a bodhisattva, they have to have bodhicitta. Yeah. So it's impossible to practice the 6 perfections without bodhicitta. Right?
Yes, that's what we talk about in the generic sense, right? Yeah.
So why? It says that they experience a sense of joy and delight at the thought of giving.
Right.
But is this all the, and even especially giving their bodies, does it apply to all the bodhisattvas, or only at a certain level they feel that way?
Sure.
Is it contingent on having realized non-conceptually bodhicitta? Is this the main factor?
Okay.
And if so, Hinayana Arhats and even Hinayana Aryas also will need to have that feeling.
Kurang kan shwe de dirisha da karsa ure tanda chanju samba gi ken da bena chimbe parchin da chik sa di tagi karsa len la rawa me bata an ta ya liya kawa shib chor la rawa ken da mixe chor sidu kan la dinde gi kawa de rawa ken chanju samba an chama la yor sigo re yang chanju samba sa khang jin de rawa ken yong sa ga di mena ji yor rawa ken sanjam de she yor wa so rawa di mena da kurang di tingu jo bena 전주 쌤이네 다 배춘 디냠도 배나 전담 쌤제를 주는 마다 로하게 제 류다 딘데 땅고도 깔려 여러하게 뭐 저다디 가와세디 전주 쌤바 싹하네 강장보다 여러스거 상말로 여러서 갈 수가 없어
페이지 다 가와테서 때 페이지 소제라 여초고 게지 가와 탑샤도 다 되게 주발 해서 간가데 사톰도 쓰고로
사 당고네 야 로사 랍도 가버로게
에 세나 집어도야 가와디 그 테마레 가서 저주심에 짐바다 예랑 짐바니 가서 짐바 캐봐야 돼 하면데 너도 짐바 지당 짐바 땅 왜이나 아니 좋을 거 짐바다 리브 용서 주고 뭐 되면요 말이지 저주심바도 그 동아 중도단에 가와시 두두 가와 집을찍 두두 두고 그랬어 땅 내가 그런 거다 좋아 디데 캐와 샤메
노서
캐와 샤게 지다 디신나 다다 가와베 소지야 되도 사통 모두 요마라
라로
디신나 니랑 집발에 소지 샤지 소지 집바 해요
the kind of I mean if we can in English call it special joy the bodhisattvas have in giving that actually happens with the bodhisattvas on the spiritual grounds. In other words, the Arya bodhisattvas, right, transcendental ones. But even the ordinary bodhisattvas, right, the kind of joy they have in giving is extremely much greater than the joy that other practitioners have. But ordinary bodhisattvas still don't have the same special sense of joy. As Geshe was trying to explain, one of the ways to differentiate between the giving of bodhisattvas on any level and that of the other practitioners, the Shervakas, is that usually when we talk about giving for us, right, we give, and then that might lead to positive outcome. So outcome is you have to wait, so to speak. For Bodhisattva, while they are giving, they experience so much joy. There's already, right, that they have that result while they are practicing it, you know. So you're right, there's a difference in terms of even the joy experienced by Bodhisattva in terms of giving.
Bodhisattvas experience the fruit of giving immediately. That's without even wanting it. That's what the meaning
right,
of that
unconditional giving. Yeah.
No, they experience the fruit of giving.
Oh, yes.
Without even wanting it.
Oh, that's right.
They
Yes,
experience
fruit of
it
giving.
immediately.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Immediately.
Right, while they're doing it. That's right.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. All right, if you don't mind, we'll stop there. I need to drive to LA for some meetings, so I hope you don't mind it. So, Shuman didi marwe. Okay. So just a reminder, probably you know it, that next Sunday is also Sok Day, 25th of the month. Sok is the Gana Chakra. Many of us has commitment. So right after the teaching, we will have Sok offering. Okay. Okay. So with that, we will do some prayers and dedication. First, we'll do Manjushri in Tibetan and the other prayers, and then in English. Kange lo de dimye dinde nyinda namda rabsebe jinye dungun chishin siche nye toga lekwam zen kanza sebe zara mendong dongen jizebe dozo kwenla kuje daze yanla chuchu yangden son doda chejo nyemo leje chajo deze je mare mense dongen nyugo jinye cheze rade nam dene rade saje Yaze tuyu gu chura chudan chuni yende dalu andi omarabada na di Di Zen Den Che Je Jen Ra Ve Se Je Ta Lue Tian Mo Min Ba Rab Se Ne Ka Da Den Je Shun Awe Na Wan Zen Do Se Lo De Gya Se Yu Zhong Pe Wa De Ge San Pong Wei Chu Do Min Ba Xin Den Ba Zen La Wang Do Yi Chen Chang Nian Zhu Gun Jiao La So Wan De. Page 21. Obeisance to my Guru and protector Manjushri, who holds at his heart a scriptural text, symbolic of his seeing all things as they are, whose intelligence shines forth as the sun, unclouded by delusions or traces of ignorance, who teaches in 60 ways with the loving compassion of Father for his only Son, all creatures caught in the prison of samsara, confused in the darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by their suffering. You whose dragon thunder-like proclamation of Dharma arouses us from the stupor of our delusions and free us from the iron chains of our karma, who wields the sword of wisdom, hewing down suffering wherever sprouts appear, clearing away the darkness of ignorance. You who have been pure from the beginning, who have completed the stages achieving the highest perfection of a bodhisattva, whose princely body is adorned with 112 marks of a Buddha, I bow down to you, Manjushri, Om Arabaza Nadi. O compassionate one, with the brilliance of your wisdom, illuminate the darkness enclosing my mind, enlighten my intelligence and wisdom, so that I may remain insight into Buddha's words and the text that explain. Like the sweet perfume of white lotus, born in the ocean of knowledge, nourishing honeybees, the fortunate being, your fame pervades all directions. You are proficient and powerful in upholding the precious doctrine. To you, O Lobsang Tenzin Wangda, respectfully I pray.
Nhất tâm kính lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, bậc đại trí ngài đều phục hai chướng ngại, tự nhật quan lan tỏa khắp mười phương, bậc thực chứng chân nghĩa màu rốt ráo, từ tim ngài Bát Nhã Kinh thủ hộ nhiệm màu, cõi luân hồi chúng sanh thọ nghiệp báo, bị ngăn che bởi phiền não vô minh, sở hữu 60 pháp âm thù thắng, cùng đại bi ngài hóa độ chúng sanh, tựa từ mẫu chăm lo cho quý tử. Thoát khỏi vòng luân hồi nghiệp báo, đường trí tuệ ngài chặt đứt vô minh, tận diệt muôn vàn khổ đau cùng ách nạn, trường tử Như Lai tối thắng toàn giác, ngài an trụ nơi thập địa pháp vân, báu thân ngài trang nghiêm thanh tịnh, 112 tướng hảo Như Lai, đê đầu đảnh lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, cúi xin ngài tận diệt ám chướng vô minh. Om Arapasanadi, con khẩn cầu dưới gót sen bậc đại trí, ban pháp lực diệt phiền não vô minh. Pháp vi diệu cùng muôn vàn luận dài, như diệu hương ngọt ngào từ sen trắng, đàn xanh nơi trí thủ thắng đại dương, hàng thiện căn như ong mật thọ nương, hồng danh ngài khắp mười phương quảng bá, đấng thiện xảo uy dũng bảo tồn pháp bảo vô giá. Nam mô Lobsang Tenzin Wangda, xin cung kính trì niệm.
Re ra lin je nian de nian ba de san je xin do mi de zhou wen nan da xin la jue bo yong gang re ra wei guo wei xin gang de bian dan de wa ma le zhong wei ne 现在在王定真扬州也下边是的嘛，边有日也当古如然那满的老王那样的哟，没有。